Welcome to Mamahood After Trauma, where healing and mamahood intersect. I'm Emily, your host. Join us as we discover practical strategies to nurture ourselves with kindness and understanding. Stay tuned for insights and inspiration to support you on your path of healing and growth. Let's dive in together. This is Mamahood After Trauma. Hello, my friends, and welcome to this episode of the Mamahood After Trauma podcast. I am super excited that you have taken some time out of your busy mom schedule to tune in and listen to this conversation. Today, we are joined by Faith Sage. Welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining me. So, mamas, I don't know if you struggle with post-trauma rage at all. I'm be real honest, I have. And if you follow me on social media, you may have seen the story where I am sharing the experience of kicking a hole in the wall when my nervous system couldn't handle my son screaming anymore. And that was my wake-up call. Like, oh, I can't do that. So welcome to the show, Faith. And why don't we just jump right in? And tell us a little bit about who you are and how you came to be working in the space.
Okay, as you heard, my name is Faith Sage, and around 2014, I jumped into the online space and I was going to become, one of those famous bloggers, those famous writers. It's what I wanted to do. And so I had started taking courses on copywriting and going through that. Fast forward to 2016, we had lost our daughter in a horrific car accident. She was 19. And I started thinking, well, maybe I should, help people through grief. Maybe I should help mamas, battle this issue that is. But instead of doing that, I was scared because she was my stepdaughter. So I felt that I was not justified,
Mm,
or that it wasn't my place. Maybe it was all crazy for me to be feeling all this stuff and be doing all these things, even though I had been with her for 9 years, and
mhm,
helped raise her and all of those things. And so I let it pass. Kept working in the writing field, building websites, doing sales funnels. And then 2021 hit, and we lost our 4-year-old granddaughter
Oh
uh, in,
man.
in a vehicle accident. And I knew at that moment in time that I wanted to help the women. I had already been building like my own way of, like moving through the grief, because you don't
Mhm.
ever really heal it. You never heal it. It's just a different form and a different stage, and it just meanders with you. And just
Mhm.
like with life, you get to one level and then you have to get to another level and another level and another level. And that's the same with grief. You just keep moving through it. And so I had started building these systems for myself and my family and stuff to help us through our own grief. And I decided to just get rid of all of my funnel stuff, just walk away from that life that I had built and start focusing solely on helping women through grief of losing a child or a grandchild, or grief just in general too, because it somehow it just like compounds on each other and plays and starts building,
Mhm.
manifesting more and more and more and more. And I just wanted to help at that point. And I couldn't avoid it anymore. So I jumped in both feet. I wrote a book in January of last year. And then in February, I wrote another book. This
Wow.
year, I have a couple more books that are coming out. I've built a small online group that meets every month. I have a travel adventure club that's coming out. And, when you get further along in your grief, you realize that one of the biggest barriers of the grief is the fear. The
Mhm.
fear of things, fear of leaving my phone at home for 5 minutes because what if somebody calls and I'm going to miss that phone call, or going to the grocery store, all of a sudden these things just start building upon each other and you just get scared to do things. And so that's where the adventure club is coming in at. Um, and then because I'm writing so many books this year, I decided I'm going to start my own publishing company because I want to build it under my own brand
Mm-hmm.
and to help and to give a space for other mamas that are wanting to write their own story or to leave a legacy for their children to put it in book format to publish underneath our brand as well. So that's coming out this year too. So, I'm just sitting at home twiddling my thumbs. That's all I'm doing.
Yeah. Yeah, grief
Doesn't work out anything.
grief can be tricky, and we experience grief in so many different instances. You mentioned grief of losing a child, grief of losing a grandchild. There's grief when you're walking through healing a traumatic childhood, the grief of what in your mind should have been, um,
Mhm.
what could have been. So
Absolutely.
let's unpack that a little bit. What what have you what systems and strategies have you created to help yourself and your family and your clients work through that minefield, if you will?
Absolutely. So one of the first things that we did was we kept open relationships, not open relationships, open conversation about, our relationships, about our how we're feeling that day, about um, just all of it in general, because it's so much. It's so
Mhm.
blended family. There's 5 children, and we didn't want them to feel ashamed or guilty or, whatever
Mhm.
they're feeling sad or upset or angry. I know we talked about this earlier, but a rage responsibly because the rage builds up and we have nowhere for it to go. It's
No.
not, it is not talked about in mainstream society as a good thing. Like they want to put you behind bars or in a mental institution or on drugs or whatever, just because you
Mhm.
have well, the anger is just unresolved grief when you
Mhm.
stop and think about it. You
Yeah.
get to the end of your rope, you have a finite amount of space within you to deal with things.
Mhm.
Um, we only know what we are taught. So once
Yeah.
we get to the point at the end of the moment of what we are taught, that's usually when the anxiety and the anger and the rage and the stuff kicks in because we don't know how to deal with it.
No.
And when we start addressing these issues and start talking about this grief, this anger, all of these things, it kind of sets you back to where you're capable and you're confident and you're like, I can handle this. I
Mm.
just went through this instance, this horrible tragic thing. I can handle this. This
Mhm.
is And so when you start putting things into perspective, it just makes a little more sense. But we like to keep the communication open so that the kids, if they ever are feeling whatever they're feeling, then come talk to either myself or my husband.
We interrupt this amazing conversation for a word from our sponsor. Are you tired of feeling like you're on an emotional roller coaster in mamahood, ready to break free from the fear and frustration that's holding you back? Introducing Mama Untriggered private podcast series, a transformative 5-episode journey to help you calm your nervous system and reclaim your strength in mamahood. In each episode, we'll guide you through practical, actionable steps to understand your triggers, build your trigger toolbox, and harness the power of community for support. Say goodbye to those moments of overwhelm and hello to more peaceful, empowered you. You didn't become a mama to spend your day on edge. It's time to take control of your emotional well-being and create a positive, joyful experience for you and your littles. Ready to break free from the emotional roller coaster? Subscribe now to the Mama Untriggered private podcast series and start your journey to a calmer, happier mamahood today. Yeah. Yeah, that is critical to be able to have a safe space to open up.
It
It's
is.
huge. It's huge. So, what does it mean to rage responsibly?
So, to me, raging responsibly, because everybody gets pissed off, everybody gets anger, everybody, all these things, everybody feels these emotions. These are all human emotions, and we're all going to feel them. So for me, raging responsibly is one, knowing that you are raging, that you are angry, so that you
Mm-hmm.
can know where to go or what to do. So there's methods on how to rage responsibly. Find a smash house.
Mm-hmm.
I love those places. Go beat the crap out of, inanimate objects so that you're not taking your anger out on someone that you love.
Yeah.
Take up boxing or some kind of physical activity that helps you get that anger out, vent that anger out so that you are not using it on, coworkers or whatever and getting them that rope and showing that. To me, that is raging responsibly, like finding an outlet for that anger that is not going to harm someone else um, unintentionally.
Yeah. I love that term, raging responsibly. Yeah, because, our society tells us that those emotions, rage, anger, those are unacceptable and
Yep.
they need to be hidden. And so I, from a young age, we're taught to hide them, push them
Mhm.
down, get away from them. Don't let them out because they're not pretty. Um, and it's they're human emotions. They were created for a purpose. And
Yep.
it's part of the healing process to feel those feelings, to allow yourself to feel those feelings and have awareness that you're feeling those feelings. So,
Absolutely.
what tips do you have for someone who is strengthening their awareness muscle to these feelings?
My biggest tip is to feel them. Allow the emotions to come. If you're scared of what people are going to say or what people are going to think or what people are going to do, then do it behind a closed door first. You know,
Mm,
a lot of people, usually when we lose someone, we're always told, all right, that's great. You lost someone. Now it's time to get back to work. Let's go ahead and, it doesn't fit within the pretty lifestyle that has been displayed before us. And so when we go back to work, people don't know how to handle it. So, like, if I come to you crying, most of the time people don't know how to handle it. They're like, oh my God, what's wrong? I need to fix this. Well, these are
mm,
things that can't be fixed. So these emotions just need to come out, and that's what strengthens the vessel is by allowing the pressure to release.
yeah.
And I would say that if you are worried about those things, do it behind closed doors. Do it with the safety of your friends and family. If you have that connection with them, not everyone does. Um, Find a group that you can talk to,
Hmm.
someone that you can vent in because you have to vent, because it's not fair. Life's not fair, but this is extremely unfair. No mother should ever bury their child. I don't care who you are. No grandmother
No.
should ever bury their grandchild. I don't care who you are. No one. Um, and so I would suggest finding a connection with someone that is going to allow you to be able to express those emotions in a safe, healthy way. That's the biggest
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. And in a space where you feel validated and no one's trying to gaslight you because you don't need that.
No, no one should ever be gaslit. I don't even speak in I am so like, yes, I agree with that. Do not, where you feel safe, where you feel that you are being heard, where feel that you are being held, where you feel like you're being emotionally substantiated
Mm-hmm.
by a person
Yeah.
and not having your words used against you, because that's the biggest thing.
Yeah. Where can our listeners find you if they would like to connect with you further?
They can go to faithsage.net. Although it is in the works, stuff's being done on it. But the bulk of everything is on there. And they can go there. They can find access to my books. They can find access to my monthly group. They can find access to the Adventure Club. I don't believe is on there as of yet. That's coming out later this year. The publishing company is not on there yet. That's coming out later this year. But they can find other resources on there as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining me today, Faith. It was a pleasure speaking with you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to tune in to this episode of the Mamahood After Trauma podcast. If you would like more of the Mamahood After Trauma community, make sure to look in the description of this episode for the link to become a Mamahood After Trauma Inner Circle member. Until next time, Mama, keep